Ohio State just won a national championship in football, and they have the best name, image, and likeness collective in the country. But is the Buckeyes athletic department going broke? One report suggests as much. So, what does this mean moving forward for the football program? We'll discuss. Locked On Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer, and I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And hit that free subscribe button down below while you're watching, please. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. So are the Buckeyes in financial trouble? Seems weird, right? Plus, Michigan answers the NCAA's claims about Spygate and Connor Stallions. Finally, what's next? Plus, our Big Ten Classics and live action coming up over the weekend. We all know it costs a lot of money to win a college football national championship. And we've discussed at length how the Ohio State Buckeyes name, image, and likeness collective put together a $20 million roster this past season, and it worked. The Buckeyes won a national championship. But there are other expenses involved in running one of the biggest athletic departments in the country. And the Columbus Dispatch reported this week that the Ohio State Athletic Department operated with a deficit of over $37 million this past year. No wonder Athletic Director Gene Smith retired back in June. New Athletic Director Ross Bjork, he tried to calm everybody because this is all public information, and it came out. And he issued a statement by starting to admit that the 2024 budget deficit, he said, look, it's not ideal, but he said there were unique circumstances at play here. We'll revisit some of those. He said Ohio State has a robust expense and revenue plan in place to deal with the ever-changing landscape of college athletics. He then said that he'll make sure that we move forward and operate with a balanced budget, again, moving forward 2025 and beyond. Moving forward, kind of sounds like this deficit info made public. It was made public, and all of a sudden Bork goes, oops, sorry, okay. Now, moving forward, we'll be okay. But we'll get back to some of those circumstances in a minute. But if the Ohio State Athletic Department is going to pull back and balance the books a little bit, does that mean Ryan Day's football program will have the full resources it needs to keep winning national championships? I think the belt tightening is already happening. Is that the reason they did not match Penn State's $3.1 million per year offer to poach defensive coordinator Jim Knowles this week? Probably had a part to do in it. Ryan Day called Knowles the best defensive coordinator in the country. Why'd Ohio State let him go? Now, the Buckeyes reportedly did make him an offer. They made an attempt. They dropped out when the bidding got north of 2.75 mil. That never happens. Ohio State doesn't get outbid for anything. But there's where they decided to draw the line in that particular case. And what about revenue sharing that's coming? That's coming this year. That means big boy schools like Ohio State will have to find another $20 million to pay past, present, and future athletes percentages of revenues that they generate for performing for the athletic department. That's separate from name, image, and likeness and all the monies that the athletes are entitled to. Now, with all this money and all these expenses and everything going on, I mean, we all know it's big business. We talk about it all the time. But last week, we reported to you that the Indianapolis Star reported that Indiana University, their athletic department, just fired 25 staffers to make financial room for their revenue share plan. The belt tightening is already going on there. We told you, we speculated at the time that numerous other schools will have to follow Indiana's lead. Now, will Ohio State athletics cut employees next? Will they cancel non-profitable Olympic sports? They got a lot of them, by the way. Again, one of the biggest athletic departments in the country, Ohio State. They got 36 sports. 36. Now, last summer, we reported on this, but it was just kind of a little small story at the time. Shortly after getting the job at Ohio State, Bjork suggested that some sports might have to go, or at least operate on a club level, which means they operate without scholarships, a lot less expensive for the athletic department. If you're wondering what kind of money it takes to run an athletic department like Ohio State, their operating expenses for 2024 were $292 million. Now, that's according to their annual report to the NCAA, which is what Freedom of Information Act, the Columbus Dispatch, that's how we got all these numbers here that we're talking about here today. 292 mil for the year, and they're almost $38 million in deficit for the year. That's a lot. By the way, just for comparison, that's not the biggest athletic department in the country. Texas actually spent $325 million. I have no idea if they're in the red or not, but they're spending a lot of money up there. But Ohio State's competitive. They're in the ballpark, as they say. So let's go back to the Buckeyes athletic director, Ross Bjork's release statement, where he said the department was faced with unique circumstances that caused this deficit. What were those unique circumstances, and will they be a reoccurring problem? Well, he may be onto something legitimate here. First of all, in 2023, Ohio State only had 6 home games. Most years, a lot of years, they'll have 8. So that caused a decline of almost $15 million in ticket revenue right there. Tickets, parking, concessions, all that stuff. It adds up. That didn't come in because of the 2 fewer games. Let's not forget they fired men's basketball coach Chris Holtman, and that was back in February. $8.5 million is what they owed him on the buyout. So there still may be some more cuts coming in order to pay for more expenses that are coming up. And there will be more expenses. There always are. Plus, it's Ohio State. This is some big-time stuff. Ryan Day just won a national championship. He's going to want to raise. He's going to want to raise for himself and his staff and more years and more guaranteed money. And he's already one of the highest paid coaches in the country, north of $10 million a year. But it's going to happen. It's just how it works. Bjork recently indicated that he was working on a deal to keep Ryan Day in Columbus for a long, long time. So this is already going on. He's already looking at the budget, looking at numbers. He knows he's going to have to pay Ryan Day some more money. He's already working on it. He wants Ryan Day to be there for a long time. He won the Natty. He deserves it. He's going to get a new deal. It's coming. But where's all that money coming from? In the short term, Ohio State's going to be fine. They'll cover the 2024 deficit with reserve funds. Believe me, the university has plenty of reserve funds. They'll take care of it. But this isn't something you want to do every single year. That's why Bjork says, hey, moving forward, we'll get this thing more balanced out. It's kind of funny because you and I, the sports fan or the sports consumer, all we hear about is how much money is coming in. Big money football, TV contracts, media rights, all this stuff. We think that the money's just coming in hand over fist. It is, but so are the expenses as the money's going out the door. We rarely hear about the expense side of the equation. But the larger picture here is that this situation is not unique to Ohio State and Indiana, as we mentioned earlier. Like we said, there's going to be more stories like this coming out. Annual deficits, budget cuts, layoffs, sports getting cut altogether. It's going to be more commonplace in the next several months, like this spring and this summer. This is going to be the story because the revenue share thing is going to be approved coming out of the courts. It's going to be approved in April and implemented by August going into the fall season. We're going to be doing stories like this every week. This school cut that. This school cuts this. It's the new reality. Indiana and Ohio State, we're hearing about it now. But I'd like to know, Buckeye fans, are you worried about this? Do you think that there'll be fewer resources going into your football program with Ryan Day? Again, more expenses. You got to pay him. We'll see where the belt tightening goes and follow that path. But I'd love to hear your comments on it, especially you Buckeye fans. Football's a big deal. And I know you don't like hearing about cuts and all that. Hit me up with the comments on YouTube. Hey, while you're here, be sure to subscribe and follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way you get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. And if you don't mind, please share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten. It really helps us out as well. Also, don't forget to check out our website, talkbig10.com. That's the number 10, where we put all of our podcasts chronologically. We also group them by school. This will go under Ohio State. While you're there, we provide a link for you if you want to buy some school spirit and some merchandise there. Get a Buckeyes t-shirt or hat for you or your friends. You can buy it right there with the link on our website there, talkbig10.com. Check that out. All right, now, something else I got to get to. Michigan. Talked about Ohio State. Now we're going to talk about Michigan. Michigan has finally and formally answered the NCAA's notice of allegation regarding Connor Stallions and the alleged Spygate scouting operation. The notice of allegations came to Michigan from the NCAA at the beginning of the football season. Michigan had till now to respond. Michigan's response next on Locked On Big Ten. Game time. Game time is awesome. If you want tickets to an event, Super Bowl, games, Big Ten basketball, go to one of these events. They make memories for a lifetime. You can do that with Game Time. Game Time can get you there. You put it on your device, your phone, you got the app, and then you get tickets to anything. It's good for concerts and comedy shows in your own local neighborhood as well. So check it out and get in on those experiences with Game Time. And there's also a feature, Game Time Picks, that filters out all the fluff and the shows. Only the best deals on the great seats, so you can focus on the big moments you want to go and just focus on being there. You can use it to pick up your tickets, super easy. They have a feature there that you can see the view from the seat of the ticket you're about to buy. They got event cancellation protection, job loss protection. All this stuff is in there. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. Locked On College for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thanks for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially you everydayers out there. Meanwhile, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and share and follow and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And check out our website, talkbig10.com. Michigan finally responded to the NCAA's notice of allegations centered around the Connor Stallions Spygate scouting scandal. It's a lot of words. From the 2023 national championship season. While Jim Harbaugh was the head coach, remember all that? We talked about it quite a bit. Everybody did. Well, the NCAA issued the notice of allegation at the beginning of the 2024 football season, and Michigan had until now to respond. Respond they did. Michigan officials put forth a 137-page document to the NCAA, and if you read all this, it seems like a resolution is not coming soon. No, it doesn't seem like the school has any intention to find a negotiated resolution with the NCAA. It's pushing back. I'll get into it here a little bit. But Michigan doesn't seem to want to be bothered by the NCAA. They feel they are feckless. I do too. I rip the NCAA all the time. But Michigan, throughout this whole thing, through every scandal that Jim Harbaugh had, Burgergate, Spygate, they just act like the NCAA doesn't even exist. So anyway, let's get through this here and talk about it. There's some interesting stuff here to get into. The school, Michigan, is actually accusing the NCAA of overreach and lack of proof here. The report has Michigan defending Jim Harbaugh, defending Sharon Moore, defending his staff, and you may be surprised to learn that they're even defending Connor Stallions in all of this. The recruiting assistant, allegedly in the middle of all this illegal on-site scouting, the Spygate scandal. Of course, you recall Stallions resigned in the midst of all this. It was a pretty good Netflix special on him. I'll tell you that. That was good. As they told his side of the story. But anyway, this was all in the midst of the 2023 season when this story broke. Michigan has said that the alleged system in place by Stallions had minimum relevance to competition and was not fully proven upon the investigation. It's kind of weird. They kind of admit he had some kind of system, but it was not proven in the investigation. And again, they say it had minimum relevance to the competition. Again, if you watch that Netflix special, I mean, he had a pretty elaborate system. Now, he always claimed he didn't do anything wrong or illegal. You should watch it sometime. It's a good watch. It is a good watch. The school also says that the NCAA notice of allegation has, quote, numerous factually unsupported infractions, exaggerates aggravated factors, and ignores mitigating facts, unquote. The notice of allegations last fall also suggested that Sharon Moore, who took over for Jim Harbaugh, as you know, could face significant suspension, a significant suspension, and a show cause penalty. That's some serious stuff. Moore is alleged to have deleted 52 text messages with Stallions, which amounted to a level 2 violation of NCAA rules. The deleting reportedly took place on the day that Stallions was deemed to be the Spygate ringleader when the story broke. I believe that was in October of 2023, right in the middle of the season. However, those texts had been relocated, and through technology, they were available for the investigation. And in fact, at one point, Sharon Moore says, I'll be glad when those are available. So somebody read them. Something else we learned from this report is how NCAA authorities were actually alerted that maybe something was going on. Apparently, they were tipped off from somebody inside the walls of Michigan. Michigan believes a leaker was used by the NCAA to produce some of the accusations made by the NCAA in the notice of allegations. Interesting. I hadn't heard that before. So that's new. In the end, Harbaugh, Stallions, former QB and staffer Denard Robinson, former linebacker coach Chris Partridge, they were all accused of serious level 1 infractions in the notice of allegations. Meanwhile, ex-defensive coordinator Jesse Minter and defensive coach Steve Clinkscale were also tapped for recruiting violations not related to the Stallions Spygate situation. But after all that, the notice allegations said that there was no evidence that Jim Harbaugh himself knew about the sign stealing. He was accused of not cooperating with the NCAA. That's not new. And that he did not allow them to look through his phone records and messages. Harbaugh has always maintained that he did nothing wrong, that he never knew anything about a Spygate scandal, nor did he ever instruct anybody to break NCAA rules. He has always said that. Connor Stallions has also corroborated Harbaugh's story. So Harbaugh doesn't know. First of all, Stallions says, I didn't do anything wrong, and Harbaugh doesn't know what I was doing. He never ordered me to do anything illegal. That's what he always said. So now that the NCAA and Michigan have gone back and forth, the ball is back in the NCAA's court for some sort of decision. And that's after they formally review Michigan's response, which came out this week. Now, you know, and I know the NCAA is historically slow, but I have to believe there'll be some sort of final resolution before the start of the upcoming football season here in 2025. But even if that's the case, Michigan lawyers will be on speed dial, and they'll fight all these and fight any penalties. And this is probably going to go on for a while. That's my opinion. I think it'll probably go on for a while. So stay tuned. We'll have all the latest right here on Locked On Big Ten. By the way, on a slightly related note, Illinois coach Brett Bielema taking shots at Jim Harbaugh on social media. Bielema answered a quote of Harbaugh's that said, hey, if you cheat to win, then you've already lost, quote unquote. It's an old Jim Harbaugh quote that somebody put on social media. Bielema answered. He responded on X. He says, really? Why did you leave? Was looking forward to playing, but understand you ran to the NFL. Wow. Brett Bielema getting in the mix. Very interesting. All right, Thursday night, tonight, we got some hoops I want to tell you about. Ohio State, Penn State, 6:30, men's basketball, 6:30 Eastern on FS1. 18th ranked Illinois at Nebraska. That's at 8:30 at FS1. And 16th ranked Oregon is at UCLA. That's at 10:30 Eastern. That means 7:30 Pacific on FS1. So a doubleheader on actually a triple header of Big Ten basketball tonight on FS1. That's pretty cool. 4 games on the women's slate around the Big Ten. Oregon at 16th ranked Michigan State. That's at 6 o'clock on the Big Ten Network. 3 o'clock back west. If you're in Oregon, you want to watch that one. That's on the Big Ten Network. Nebraska is at Purdue, 7 p.m. Eastern, Big Ten Plus. Illinois at Rutgers, 7 p.m. Big Ten Plus. And Minnesota at 4th ranked USC at 10 p.m. Eastern on Peacock, 7 o'clock Pacific. So check out men's and women's hoops. Pretty good slate on a Thursday night. On Thursdays, we always like to look ahead to the weekend to the Big Ten Network, see what's going on with Big Ten Classics, Big Ten Live action. We will have that for you next right here on Locked On Big Ten. All right, it's time now to take a look at what's coming up on the weekend. If you're new to our podcast, by the way, we always close out with a cool feature. Like on Mondays, we do my top 10 Big Ten observations for the weekend. Tuesday, we do Tuesday tweets. So hit us up on Twitter. If it's good, I'll put it on there, put it on the podcast. Wednesday, we do power rankings, depending if we're in football or basketball season. And then off season, by the way, we power rank some silly stuff for fun. Thursdays, we look ahead to the Big Ten Network, even though we're not affiliated with them. We obviously have a lot of the same interests. We'll look at Big Ten Classics, at Big Ten Live action. And then on Fridays, we always make our picks, pigskin picks, basketball picks, predictions, futures picks, all that stuff. So today, we're going to take a look here at the Big Ten Network and what we got with our Big Ten Classics and Live action. I'm going to put it on full screen. If you are audio only, do not fear. We will talk our way through it so you know what's going on. All right, we'll pick it up here with Friday, January 31st. We got a Penn State wrestling classic, Iowa at Penn State, and that's a replay from what happened a couple of days ago, so that's pretty good. Big deal, that Penn State wrestling. Iowa wrestling at Penn State from the year 2020 at 2 o'clock for Big Ten Classic. Then we have actual Big Ten wrestling Friday night, 7 o'clock. This is a big one, big showdown. We got Iowa and Penn State. And then at 9 o'clock, more Big Ten wrestling. Wisconsin is at Nebraska. On Saturday, going to replay Friday night's Big Ten basketball game. Big Ten basketball in 60 minutes. Their edits from play to play. Boil a game down into an hour. Indiana and Purdue from Friday night. That's at 10:30 a.m. Eastern on Saturday. At 11:30, Big Ten Live, Big Ten basketball tip-off show, getting you ready for all the events of the day and all the schools, everything going on. And that leads into a noon game with men's basketball. Washington is at Minnesota. Minnesota's been beating some ranked teams all of a sudden. Watch out, Washington, in this one. And then at 2 o'clock, Big Ten wrestling, still big, Ohio State at Michigan. Anytime Ohio State and Michigan get together in any sport, it's a big deal. More wrestling at 4 o'clock on Saturday. We got Northwestern at Indiana, and then at 6 o'clock, ice hockey, Penn State at Michigan. And then finally, take a look at Sunday's action. Now, keep in mind, Sunday, this is the quiet before the storm. There's no football. This is the week off before the Super Bowl. So you can be looking around for stuff. They'll have the Big Ten basketball at 60 at 2 o'clock Eastern on Sunday. They'll replay those highlights from the Indiana-Purdue game. Followed at 3 o'clock, women's basketball, Minnesota at UCLA. At 5 o'clock, more women's basketball, Washington at Ohio State. And then at 7 o'clock, a late version of Big Ten Live basketball tip-off show. Again, all the Big Ten action and tip-off show coverage, pregame breakdowns, and updates because they're going into another game at 7:30 on Sunday Eastern time, 4:30 Pacific. Men's basketball, Nebraska at Oregon. So there you have it. Those are the Big Ten Classics and live action from the weekend. Just highlighted a few. We didn't put the whole schedule up. We never do. We pick the things that we think are the most interesting that they're going to air over the weekend. So feel free to check that out. Again, you'll have some free time now without any we're in between conference championships and the Super Bowl. So it's a big free weekend. watching some other stuff as well. Thanks for checking us out here today, as always. That was an action-packed show. A lot of information wanted to get out. Thanks for joining us. I never take it for granted. Please tell your friends about us and your Big Ten alumni, family members, whatever, that we're out here every single day for you. This is your one-stop shop on the internet, on YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcast. We have all things Big Ten, all 18 teams. Cover it here. So news, but we also throw in a lot of opinion and analysis, sometimes some predictions, all in one shop right here on Locked On Big Ten. Many ways for you to interact with us: Twitter, X, at Talk Big Ten. Don't forget our website, talkbig10.com. Be sure before you go to subscribe for free and follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, and you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Thank you so much for joining us. I can't wait till we meet again tomorrow, right? We'll be here tomorrow. Will you? I hope so. For Locked On Big Ten, I'm Craig Sheeman. We'll talk to you next time.